Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, the diplomatic crisis between Israel and Mexico has apparently ended after Israeli President Reuven Rivlin apologizes to his counterpart for Prime Minister Netanyahu's remarks on Trump's planned US-Mexican border wall. Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman have decided to approve construction of over 3,000 new housing units in West Bank settlements. Jordan's King Abdullah urges the United States to provide his kingdom with additional aid that would bolster his country's domestic security amid the growing risk of Islamic State terror attacks. Messages from Mexico have been received by the Foreign Ministry in Jerusalem, indicating that the diplomatic crisis between Israel and Mexico has apparently ended. A statement issued last night by the Foreign Ministry in Mexico City said that Israeli President Reuven Rivlin had apologized to his counterpart, Enrique Pena Nieto, for the misunderstanding caused by Prime Minister Netanyahu's statement, which implied support for building a wall on the US-Mexico border. The Mexican president said after the conversation with President Rivlin that his country wished to preserve the friendly relationship in cooperation with Israel, while noting that Prime Minister Netanyahu's tweet had harmed the relationship between the two countries and had raised questions in Mexico and its Jewish community. Meanwhile, in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sidestepped a demand by Mexico for an Israeli apology over the tweet, echoing previous Israeli explanations on his remarks, saying those comments did not refer to ties between the United States and its southern neighbor, rather emphasized the potential effectiveness of thwarting the illegal infiltration of migrants.
I did point out the remarkable success of Israel's security fence. But I did not comment about U.S.-Mexico relations. We've had and will continue to have good relations with Mexico. And I believe our ties are much stronger than any passing disagreement or misunderstanding. And in fact, I've had a long and fruitful and very friendly relationship with Mexican President Enrique Pena Nieto, and it will continue.
In the Prime Minister's tweet on Saturday that drew rebuke from Mexico after U.S. President Donald Trump retweeted Netanyahu's supportive statement, the Israeli leader wrote, "President Trump is right. I built a wall along Israel's southern border. It stopped all illegal immigration. Great success, great idea." Netanyahu said he had been referring to Trump's praise for the barrier Israel constructed along its southwestern border with Egypt, a fence with electronic sensors that had largely halted an influx of African migrants, among others. Now to another matter, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman have decided to approve construction of over 3,000 new housing units in West Bank settlements. According to the announcement, about 2,000 of these units are ready to be marketed immediately, while the rest are in various stages of planning. Sources in the Defense Minister's Bureau said that the decision was part of a return to normal life in the West Bank and providing a real response to the residents' dire needs. The 3,000 approved housing units are in addition to the already approved construction of some 2,500 units in West Bank settlements that was announced last week. Now to Israel's western neighbor, where an Egyptian court rejected a government plan to transfer 2 uninhabited Red Sea islands to Saudi Arabia in a final ruling that prompted cheers in the courtroom that could deepen tension with the country's erstwhile financial backer.
أخيراً قد وقر واستقر في عقيدة المحكمة أن سيادة مصر على جزيرتي تيران وصنافير مقطوع بها.
Egypt's government announced during a visit by the Saudi king in April of last year a maritime demarcation accord that would see it cede control of Tiran and Sanapir, citing the fact that the 2 islands fall within the territorial waters of Saudi Arabia. The deal prompted protests from Egyptians who said the islands historically belonged to them, becoming a source of tension between Egypt and Saudi Arabia, which showered its ally with tens of billions of dollars in aid in recent years, but suspended petroleum supplies in September of last year amid growing differences. The two strategically located islands have been a cause of concern for Israel as well, since the Strait of Tiran is the only access point from the Gulf of Aqaba, where Israel's port of Eilat is located, to the Red Sea. In 1967, when then Egyptian President Jamal Abdel Nasser closed the Strait of Tiran to Israeli shipping, Israel responded by capturing the islands by force during the historic Six-Day War. Tiran remained under Israeli control until 1982, when the Jewish state returned the islands to Egypt as part of the peace treaty signed in 1979 between the two countries, which included a guarantee of freedom of Israeli shipping through the Straits of Tiran. Thus, as part of the agreement by Egypt to cede the islands to Saudi Arabia required the approval of Israel to modify the military annex to the peace treaty, which was reportedly granted by Jerusalem, even though Saudi Arabia on paper is considered to be an enemy of the Jewish state. Nevertheless, now that the Egyptian court rejected the government's attempt to hand over the islands to Saudi Arabia, the status quo of the maritime proceedings will be maintained. Now, with regard to Israel's eastern neighbor, Jordan's King Abdullah, who is on an official visit to the United States, urged American lawmakers to provide his kingdom with additional aid that would bolster his country's domestic security amid the growing risk of Islamic State terror attacks. The monarch, in the first meeting by an Arab leader with the new American administration of President Donald Trump, addressed fears of Islamic State fighters descending southward from Syria to Jordan's borders at the end of a US-led campaign whose goal is to drive the extreme Muslim group out of their de facto capital in Syria, Raqqa, which is located in the north of the country. The kingdom is among the few Arab states that have taken an active role in the US-led air campaign against Islamic State, which holds territory in both Iraq and Syria. That said, Jordan has pockets of support for the extreme Muslim group domestically speaking, and has been eager not to trumpet its military role in the neighboring Arab countries. Now, with regard to the conflict in Israel's northern neighbor, the United Nations Special Envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, announced that the next round of UN-backed peace talks had been scheduled for the 20th of February. The talks had been initially planned to begin in Geneva on the 8th of February, but after consultations, the UN decided to provide the Syrian government and opposition a longer time frame that would allow both sides to better prepare for the talks, as well as the hope that the nationwide cessation of hostilities, which was brokered by both Russia and Turkey, would become solid enough to assist in substantiating the seriousness of negotiations.
We want to give a chance to this Astana initiative to actually implement itself. If the ceasefire becomes as solid as we hope, that will only help the serious talks to actually be concrete. Secondly, we want to give a chance both to the government to come seriously engaged in concessions and in discussions, and we want the opposition, because things are changing radically and rapidly, to actually be able to be given a chance to come with one unified opposition.
Last week, Russia, Iran, and Turkey presided over peace talks between the Syrian government and opposition in Astana, Kazakhstan. The talks ended with Moscow, Ankara, and Tehran agreeing to monitor the compliance of the warring parties with a cessation of hostilities that was implemented on the 30th of December and still seems to hold. Thank you for watching us. You can also watch us at TV7israelnews.com or TV7.fi. For any comments, please send your emails to israelnews@tv7.fi. For more updates from Israel and the region, please join our Facebook page at TV7 Israel News. Praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have an Erev Tov, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.
In order to donate to TV7 Israel News, please follow these simple steps. First, press the Donate logo, located at the bottom left side of TV7 Israel News Facebook page, or on the Donate tab at the head of the page. Then insert the amount you'd like to donate, and fill in your credit card information. Just like this. And press Review Donation and continue. After reviewing your donation details, please press Donate to finalize your donation. That's it! Your donation is now complete, and an email with your donation details has been sent to your email address. You can also print your donation receipt by pressing the link here. Thank you for supporting TV7 Israel News.